What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Also, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at BoxingWave10. All right, so this fight here is actually my favorite fight of the weekend. I wish I actually had time to prepare and probably do a better breakdown of the two. I didn't really I really wanted to study these two going into this fight because I actually haven't seen much of Nakatani outside of the Teofimo Lopez fight. So I wanted to get some time to go back and try to find some of his other fights to see if I saw some flaws in there or whatever, because I think this is a hard fight to call. I really think it's a really hard fight. I actually think it's a 50-50 fight. So I wish I had time to do a breakdown. I'm sorry I'm giving you guys late, but listen, I will be here all day tomorrow, again, covering this card, the ESPN card, the DAZN, the Showtime. I'll be here all three tomorrow. So I'll talk about it more tomorrow. But this is my favorite fight of the weekend. This and the Kuzmin-Bakole fight are my two favorite fights this weekend. That fight is going to be a war, and this one I feel like is going to be more of a technical war between two really good boxers that I respect. Now, Felix Verdejo, I haven't done a video on him in a long time. I remember one year at one point when I was doing videos, I remember him and Errol Spence were like the top two most talked about prospects in boxing. Whatever year that was, I don't know if it was 2014, 2015, whatever year that was, they were the two top guys that everybody was talking about when they were on their come up. Okay. Verdejo, very experienced guy as an amateur, was an Olympian and everything. Very good fighter from Puerto Rico, 27 years old. The thing is, he's been out, he's been active, but socially, he's kind of been out the loop. Like, no one's really been talking about him. He kind of lost his buzz, And the thing is, I think a lot of it has to do with probably promotion, because the Puerto Rican fan base is going to, they ride or die with their fighters. But outside of them, I feel like he had potential to blow up even more, because they were like trying to push him to be like the next Miguel Cotto and everything. But he just wasn't well received, and he never really stepped up. And then when he lost to Antonio Lozada, it was kind of like, even at that point, even before that fight, people weren't really talking about him like that. I remember going to that fight. I went to the fight where he lost because I was going to see the Amir Imam Jose Ramirez fight. So I was in the crowd, and I remember seeing Verdejo fighting. I didn't even know he was going to be on the card. And when I seen him lost that fight, I was like, man, like, this guy was like one of the top dudes everybody was talking about, and he kind of just like fell off, I mean, not as far as what he did in the ring, but people talking about him, the buzz was just kind of gone. But he's picked up about good 4 wins since that loss, and he had a great knockout win against I think Murata or Will. He was an undefeated fighter. He beat him, knocked him out in the first round. Really, really good performance. So right now people are talking about him again. But once I heard that this fight was announced, I was extremely excited, because Nakatani, now I wish I had more time to do a breakdown and really go thoroughly through him, because at this point, I only seen Nakatani fight one time, and that was against Teofimo Lopez last year. I never seen him fight before that. And he performed well. He lost, but he performed well because Teofimo was already a big time, talked about prospect, contender, or whatever you want to call it. He was calling out Lomachenko. He was buzzing, and Nakatani came and made him look bad. Very tall, light on his feet, has a great 1-2. Okay, very long reach, fights, has a good outside game, and can box. He could box, man. Good timing. He got skills. And we saw that in that fight, We saw Teofimo get hit more than what we normally see him get hit, And I think in that fight, when I look back at it, because I've seen that fight a couple of times. I watched it going into the Lomachenko fight too. And I noticed that, I think Teofimo Lopez and the way his defense, he has that Philly shell stance. Teofimo was getting hit a lot because Nakatani was long, and he was able to punch and throw, land punches over the much shorter guy. When you're long like that, you're able to connect with punches that from fighters that's like a lot shorter when you're standing in that position, and didn't have much power behind it, but it was effective. and he was winning rounds in that fight against Lopez. But here, this is different. And I do think this is a 50-50 fight because the thing is, Verdejo, I haven't really seen him step up. And even the guy that he lost to was solid, but he wasn't an elite fighter, you know? And when I look at the two, I think this is a must win for both because Verdejo needs a win like this. This is probably like one of his best opponents on his resume. He needs I think if he gets this win, it'll catapult him. I didn't look at the rankings, but it would catapult him and push him closer to either a championship fight or at least to a fight that's going to put him in championship position. So he kind of needs this, you know. He needs a win because if he loses to a guy that he had to step up and face, I think he would lose a lot of credibility. He would. If he lost this fight tomorrow, he would lose some credibility. He would. So he needs something to happen. And then Nakatani, on the other hand, he hasn't been active since he lost to Teofimo Lopez. We haven't seen him since last summer. He took all that time. He took all this year. So the thing is, he needs a win too, because if he is to beat Verdejo, that would push him into another position to fight another top guy. I don't know where he's ranked neither. I didn't do it. We can talk more about this tomorrow. This is just a quick video. But the way I see it going, I like Verdejo in this fight. And I like him stylistically. I like some of the things that he's going to do in this fight over what Teofimo Lopez was doing. Because he has a great jab. And he's going to make much more use of his jab than Teofimo Lopez. Lopez did a lot more with his jab when he fought Lomachenko. But when he fought Nakatani, the jab wasn't really there. You know, Lopez was winning off counters, mainly. You know what I'm saying? Nakatani had the better jab in that fight. But in this fight, even though Verdejo is shorter, he's probably not as long, he has a great jab. He always works behind his jab. And he's able to set those big right hands countering his opponent's jabs. That's what we see in his most recent fight. He's going to be setting up those right hands with his jab, but he's also going to be countering Nakatani's jab. You know, I know Nakatani's quick. He has a good one too. He moves well, but he's not bringing the same dangers that we saw with Lozada. Lozada beat Verdejo with an immense amount of pressure. You know, it was very, very continuous pressure. No matter how much Lozada got hit, he just kept coming forward, and he didn't really respect Verdejo's power. But it's not because Verdejo don't have the power. I think it's just because of the way he was fighting. Because Verdejo, unlike like a Javier Fortuna who blew out this guy Lozada, he blew him away. Verdejo would just throw 1 or 2 punches at a time, you know, whereas Fortuna was being aggressive against the aggressive fighter. You know, he was throwing 2, 3, 4, 5 punches at a time. Power shots, landing to the body continuously. And he was able at some point to put Lozada away, drop him, you know, hurt him throughout the fight. Verdejo was keeping it safe. You know, he would land his 1-2 and then back off some. He wasn't keeping the punches going, you know. So he needs to figure out a way to be a little bit more aggressive, you know. But he might not have to in this fight because he's not fighting a Lozada. He's fighting a guy that's defensively aware. You know, he doesn't want to. He's not a big puncher himself. He got some knockouts, but Nakatani is a guy he's a fighter that's based on he works behind his jab. You know, he wants to set up the right hand, the 1-2, and he wants to back off and move. You know, he's more defensive. You know what I'm saying? So it's about who scores better in this. You know, it's about who is just outboxing the other, who's landing more cleaner shots. And I personally think, and I think this could go either way, but I'm picking Verdejo because I can see Verdejo doing better with the counters. I see Verdejo getting points with the jab, which Teofimo Lopez wasn't doing, which made the fight closer because Teofimo Lopez just wasn't leaning with much. He was more countering with a lot, but that's how he won the fight. Verdejo, I can see him doing a little bit of both. I don't think Verdejo is better than Lopez, but I can see him, I think stylistically, I think he's a better opponent for Nakatani. So I have Verdejo winning this one, all right, on points. On points, though. But I think this is a good technical boxing match. And I do think it's a 50-50, something that I wouldn't put my money on. Plus, Verdejo's been more active. Nakatani hasn't been there since last July. I'm more leaning towards Verdejo in this one. I think Verdejo is going to win this one. One thing I question too with Verdejo is his stamina. Not really too sure how he's going to look later. I know he looked bad against Lozada in the fight that he lost later in the fight. There was another fight that I seen with Verdejo earlier in his career where he didn't look too hot. Maybe a few fights before that. He didn't look too good. It was maybe the one of the first fights that was on Top Rank where people were like, he's overrated. Because there was a point where he was getting pushed hard, and there was a point where people started saying he was overrated. It was because of one or two performances he had before that loss where he didn't look too hot. And it was because of what he looked like later on in the fight. So Nakatani can very well take over later. All right, you never know. But I have Verdejo winning this one. This is definitely my best fight, favorite fight this weekend. This is going to be on the Shakur Stevenson undercard on ESPN. Starts at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. So be sure to check it out, and I will be covering it live tomorrow, all right? So I'm out. Peace.